What's up, everyone? Chris with Ducklope Outdoors. You will not believe what I'm about to do in the middle of duck season. Typically, people have their complete setup ready, and they more than likely go throughout the entire season without making any changes. Well, no says I. I'm getting rid of my shotgun. Y'all be ready for this one.
It's freezing, the first day of the season. Yeah, when it comes to retrieving old Duke's on his game.
Alright, as y'all saw, I traded in my Benelli Nova for the 870. Still shoots 3.5-inch shells, so don't worry about that. I am driving to Justin's house right now, going to pattern it in and see where it's at. That's my big tip of the day. When you buy a shotgun and you're into fowling or just bird hunting in general, or anything with shotgun work, go pattern your shotgun. But now, gonna go shoot this thing. So, here we go. All right, so the pattern testing is done. I'm gonna spin the camera around, but before I do that, I'm gonna explain what I put on the 870 so far as choke, and I'm gonna explain the shells that I used, which these shells, after you get done watching this video, go ahead and bounce back to my channel. I've actually broke down most of these shells except for the federal one, which I'll point out. But I cut them apart so that way you can see the wad, you can count the actual the shot count and all that sort of stuff. But as for the choke that I put on this 870, the reason why I went with this choke, before I tell you, so that way you don't click off the video, I hunt sea ducks, divers on big water, and I also hunt skinny water as well, so far as your puddle ducks and geese. So the reason why I went with this choke is because, not that I'm like these other skybusters where I want to shoot something 70, 60 yards away. It's for either I have a straight miss or I dust them and they're dead, so I don't have any cripples. The longest shot I'll ever take is around 40 yards. So the reason why I went with this choke is to not reach beyond 40 yards, but I want a really good pattern at 40 yards, just in case, I'm shooting at, sea ducks or divers. Like, I want to make sure I kill them, so that way I don't have to paddle them down, because I do hunt out of a kayak on big water. And if you know anything about divers and sea ducks, they're extremely hard to catch up to. That's why normally guys hunt them with a boat with a motor. So, but to get to the choke that I got, it is the Pattern Master Code Black Goose. I shoot 3.5-inch shells, that being because I hunt divers and sea ducks, and still I want as much shot out there as possible, so that way I get a clean kill. I don't like crippling birds, and when I do, I make sure I use the finisher. After I catch them, I don't sit there and keep shooting at them and wasting shells and possibly, wound them even more. Now for the shells that I tested out 2 of my 3.5-inch and 2 3-inch shells. Being that this choke is designed for 3.5-inch, I wanted to see what the 3-inch would do with it as well, which I'll show the pattern here in a bit. For shell number 1, I shot the super cheap Walmart Super X Winchester 3.5-inch number 2s, and I shoot nothing but number 2. The second shot I shot with the Kent 3.5-inch number 2s. My third one was the super cheap, cheapest out on the market. This is the Bass Pro Cabela's Herders. It's a 3-inch number 2. And this is the shell I have not broke down yet. I will cut it apart when I get back up to Maryland. But this is the Federal Speed Shock. It is the duplex, so it has BB and number 2 in it. And it's a 3-inch, if I didn't say that before. Now the size of these sheets that I shot out, yes, it's bigger than 30 inches. Yes, you're probably gonna roast me in the comments just because I'm looking at the entire pattern. But honestly, I wanna see what the entire shell does. I don't care about, just that small little area. I wanna see the entire, how many gaps there are, that sort of thing. Keep in mind, being it's a Remington, it shoots 50-50. It's not like my Benelli with the last pattern testing video I posted up. That one I think is like 70-30, I think is the percentage. So 70% is going to be high, 30% is low. With these American-made shotguns, it's 50-50. So 50 of the shot should be above and 50% should be below the actual point of aim. So I'm going to spin this video around, and I'm just going to give you the number, show you the pattern, and then y'all can tell me in the comments which shell that you would go with. So this is the Winchester 3.5 inch number 2. I got 87 is the count on it. I will point out the voids in the area, and there's a big void here, a big void down here. There's some striations through there, all around. All right, so number 2 was the Kent 3.5 inch number 2. As you can tell, the big pattern is down, down below. That's kind of like your 50-50 part of it. The count was 130, and a big void up top. So maybe if you shoot this shell, you'll have to aim just a tad bit high, is my suggestion. But that pattern is, to me, pretty good. This is your Herters, the super cheap brand. It came in at $112. It's a 3-inch number 2. I think a box of shells for these is like, I think it's like $10 or $12, something like that. But not too shabby for a super cheap shell. And it's a 3-inch. Out of the goose choke. Flies away again. So this is the Federal, the Sea Duck brand duplex. It's BB and number 2. The count on it is 98. So it almost reminds me a little bit of the Winchester 3.5 inch number 2, but I got a box of it. I'll probably end up shooting it at Blackbirds or something like that, so along with the Winchesters, so that way they just get used up. Now I do want to state the reason why I got rid of my Benelli. There's really no reason. Now I will say, as a side reason, just for me personally, the weight of it. So I've gotten to the point where I really take in consideration of the weight, things I bring out, especially in a kayak, because the more weight you have, the slower your kayak's gonna go. Yeah, it's down to ounces, and yes, I do literally count the ounces that I put into the kayak now. So that's the big reason. Another reason is that being that it's lighter, it does, I don't know, it kind of shoulders me a lot better. So when I bring it up and get my cheek to stock, it lines up like perfect for me. Justin has an 870, and I was fooling around with his this summer, and I just fell in love with it. So my Benelli, as soon as I would bring it up, I would have like a gap to my shoulder that I would have to bring it to, and so it almost like bring up and then snap to my shoulder, and I didn't like that. So the 870, it matches up with my body style and how I aim a lot better. But that was pretty much the main reasons. Besides that, I do want to give a lot of thanks to Jay and Lindsay at Clark Brothers. If you're watching this and you live in Virginia, Clark Brothers is like the mecca of this area when it comes to guns, ammo. If you want to go shoot, they got the skeet, the thrower out there. They got all the different ranges, from shooting pistols, from your rimfire and your actual centerfire type rifles. They have the red shed where it's got all the clothing and knickknacks, and then the actual shop itself has pretty much everything. Lastly, I want to thank Justin for hooking me up with John, who is the guy that bought my Benelli. But yeah, I hope y'all are having a good season out there, and most of all, stay safe. I've been Chris, and this has been Duckalope Outdoors.